This is it, guys. The engine is bolted in the car, the transmission is in the car. All the subframes and suspension are installed on the car. All 3 wiring harnesses are installed. It's time to get the dash in and figure out if I installed the wiring harness correctly and will everything line up, bolt in, and work. What a journey this car has been. The engine and transmission are finally installed. They're wired up, mostly plumbed up, a few things left to go, but before I can even think about starting it up, well, I gotta get the dash and all the other electronics inside. Finally cleaning out the parts room with Porsche stuff, starting with the dash. Actually pretty excited to get this installed. Wish me luck that it goes smoothly and I didn't mess up any wiring. Now, before installing all of these interior parts, I did want to give them a good cleaning. I cleaned them before in the previous cleaning video because they were absolutely disgusting, but they've been sitting for a while now, collecting more dust, and also I didn't clean behind, underneath, etc. But while we're on the topic of cleaning things before installation, why didn't you clean the engine before installing it? Look how dirty it is. The transmission looks awful too. Well, to be honest, guys, I really debated it. The issue was there are so many exposed pipes and hoses, coolant lines, electronics, connectors, sensors that I didn't really want to pressure wash the engine with all that stuff exposed. Yeah, but now it's installed. You're not going to be able to get it as clean. Duh. I don't want to completely drench this thing. I'd like to just give it a good pressure washing now that it's installed. I still think you should have done it first. It won't be as detailed of an engine cleaning, but I really have everything I need exposed. Since the bumper's off, I can get the whole front of the engine here, I can get the whole underside, I can get the transmission, and I'll just feel better about it knowing that I'm not hitting as many connectors, not getting water in vacuum hoses because they're all plugged now. The electrical connectors are plugged in. I'll just feel better about it. All right, I guess if you think that makes sense, I'll accept it. But trust me, I am going to pressure wash this and make it look, well, a lot nicer. What am I hitting? Why aren't you going in? This thing's not cooperating. Definitely harder to get in than it was to get out. The dash was a little bit of a fight to get in there because it is a tight fit and there are multiple wires that you have to sneak in specific places and there's multiple brackets that you have to line up, but eventually I got it in there. Time to grab some more parts. Gauge cluster area, nicely labeled. Now, unlike the engine and transmission, I felt like now was a good time to clean all these parts before installation. Gonna need to re-glue that foam too. But first, I need to see how I need to route this gauge cluster wiring. I'm guessing it needs to go behind all that, which is sort of a problem. I'm worried I'm gonna have to pull the dash back out already. Yep, I'm gonna have to look back at one of my videos because I don't remember where that went. Yeah, good for you for labeling that stuff. There we go, that's kind of what I need. I see it up there. Okay, so the wires are behind there, so I gotta shuffle that around. See if there's any way I can sneak that up there without removing the dash, which I kind of doubt. Yeah, I might as well just rip the Band-Aid off. All of those go to a different hole. That wire, got that wire. That's all good. Now, as much trouble as these quick jacks caused me last time, now that I figured out the problem, let's bring them down just a hair. That's definitely going to make it a little easier to work on, especially up here on top of the dash. More part deliveries. Can't forget this basically useless dash ornament that they call a clock, stopwatch, or something. And with that, the dash is mostly installed and bolted down. However, there are a ton of parts left to go. If any of you are kind of lost for the holiday shopping and gift ideas, check out the Ridge. And they just came out with this brand new collection of ceramic powder. And these ones I have here in front of me include sea glass, eucalyptus, and lavender. Not only can you get your loved ones a great gift with one of these new ceramic powder wallets, they're also having a huge sale. And if you go to theridge.com/Ross, you can get up to 30% off through December 20th. If you use my link, you can enter your SMS or email for a free chance to win a Ridge bundle worth $4,000. No purchase necessary. And if you've never used one of these wallets before, see just how small it is. It goes right in your pocket. You don't even notice it's there. Much better than a big, bulky, old school leather bifold or trifold wallet. Now, the Ridge literally makes the best wallets I've ever used, and if I didn't already have some, I would love these as a gift. And they make so many colors and styles, it's really incredible. There's over 30 of them, but they're always adding new ones. And you can even get ones that house an Apple AirTag, so you never lose it. Or if you do lose it, you can find it. So another huge shout out to the Ridge for sponsoring another video. They make awesome products. You and or your loved ones will love them as a gift. Make sure to go to theridge.com/Ross to check out that big holiday discount. As you can see, this foam doesn't want to stay home anymore. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of super glue, and I think that'll hold it just fine. We'll just set it on itself, put a little bit of weight on it, let that dry, should be good to go. We can install the other vents a while. I just know I'm gonna end up messing up this door if I leave it on, because I gotta get in here and there's absolutely no room. Ouch! That hurt a lot. That can hang out there for the time being. One there, one over there. I talk about order of operations with you guys, and here's a perfect example. I can't screw this bracket in with the airbag in the way. So I got to get the airbag out of the way, then I can put the bracket in, then put the airbag back in. Okay. So many parts. We'll throw the vent in, which has an absurd amount of connectors on it. Like, why? Why are there so many? Nice. With everything in the center stack bolted up and plugged in, I moved on to the gauge cluster, which involves bolting in the gauge surround, plugging in the cluster, and then screwing that in. After that came the steering column covers, including the microphone, which you guys told me where that went. I had no idea, must have fallen out at some point, so thanks for that. And then we can move on to the lower dash components. There's a lot of wiring there as well. It's like the never-ending back and forth grabbing parts. First piece of terracotta going back in the car. It's absolutely filthy. Oh, there we go. Got it. Oh, excellent. There were a few unknown connectors on the lower dash, but I figured out where they went. They went to some modules shoved way up under there, which were extremely difficult to get to. Excellent, excellent progress, but certainly enough for tonight. Spent a few hours doing this. Now, tackle it again after work tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day, until it's complete. I think everything's plugged in that would allow me to start the car, so...
4:32 in the morning. Yeah, I'm still up, you're boring. Life keeps getting better and better, and I'm not stressed, I'm snoring. It'll get messy, get gory. Simpleness not for me. I don't care about football, care about this, that, care if you're acting 40. Like quick call back, can't ignore me. They don't even know my story.
I got some more parts in, and I think I have everything I need, except for maybe some fluids, to get this engine ready for its first fire up. And I think I have enough of the interior installed where, well, I could make that happen. I also have the battery charging, but that battery's been sitting for years and years and years, so I kind of doubt that'll work, but I'll give it a try. I've got to put the fuel pump back in. And I have the used fuel filter. Not that I'm going to use the fuel filter, but it has this pipe here, which is what I needed. The bleeder valve, they call it. And the rest of this I can pretty much throw away. I also got some other stuff. Actually have like a whole wall of parts here and mods. We'll see them another time. But I do need this. I got some hose that I need so I can get those heater lines hooked up underneath. We'll get to that in a little bit. First, I want to get this bleeder valve installed. And that sits just like that. Got a nice fresh fuel filter in there. One brand new installed fuel filter. I think I can also install this coolant line because I don't think that gets in the way of the air intake. Engine bay is about complete. Since we're working on fuel, might as well get the fuel pump in there, and I think that wraps everything up here. I know there was one wire, couldn't figure out where it went. The wire may have since been buried. At least the tank is empty, that makes it nice. All right, one fuel pump fully installed. Now I found this part laying around, looked up the part number, and I think it goes in behind here. So what started out as simply installing this missing plastic cover that I found turned into a complete disaster of a rabbit hole mess. Well, I Google searched, I watched my old video, I just, for the life of me, can't figure out where this connector goes. So if you guys know, please let me know. I mean, is there a chance it just didn't go to anything? It's separate from the wiring that goes to here, but it definitely like leads down. Nothing down there. I guess I'm just gonna put everything back together then. All of that freaking work just to still not find out where that plug goes. Perhaps it goes nowhere. Hopefully you guys can let me know in the comments. I routed it in such a way that I'll have easy access to it in case I figure out what it does do. Other than that, the trunk's pretty wrapped up. I need to clean the carpet and do a deeper cleaning up here and actually fully screw everything in, but I didn't want to do that yet, as who knows, I'll have to pull stuff back out. I had the cowle installed, but I don't want to do that yet because obviously I need to get a battery and I need to do the clutch fluid, windshield washer fluid, whatever, not worried about that. I need to make sure I can bleed everything and there's no leaks. I have a new cabin filter to put in. I've got the wipers and squirters to wire up and plumb up. There's still a good bit left here, but this is looking nice. Now it's time to get under the car and figure out the heater hose situation, get that remedied, and pop in those clips for the other heater hoses, and that should wrap all the cooling system up. Getting close. After that, I think fluids, battery, it's time to crank it over. Should probably put the fenders and the headlights on too, because that's gonna set off all sorts of wonkiness. The list is getting smaller, but at the same time, it still feels so large. As long as they're on the locks, I fully trust these things. All right, let's work on these coolant lines. So there are a lot of comments saying that rubber hoses need to go between the black and the aluminum color, which I know. But the problem is, like, look at this top one. It's literally pointing up and hitting the bottom of the car. Like, there's no way that's correct. I tried flipping them. I checked these coolant tubes, which are the same as the other ones, exactly the same. So it just seems like these black tubes aren't correct. So the reality of it is, you just gotta cut them. Now I do have a new tool to show you guys. I got a bead roller. That actually worked. There's a little bead. I gotta clean up the edges, but that'll do it. That's a nice little unit. All right, and those should be ready for install.
I also got my clips. I will say Tom Hallberg sent me a bunch of pictures of his. It's just hard for me to tell which goes where. That looks like, it's so hard to tell. I'm also not sure that it even matters. Still don't know which goes where. So for now, I'm just gonna connect them and I should be able to flip-flop them pretty easily if need be. Those coolant lines are finished.
Another unfinished item underneath the car were the numeric shifter cables. I had to get them fully installed, which means screwing or securing them down on the OEM bracket, as well as adjusting the cables themselves to make sure they were long enough in either direction, which is actually a really simple process. The shifter cables completed, those coolant lines completed, axles bolted in, new clips in the hard coolant lines installed, all the coolant lines connected and clamped and secured. Basically everything underneath is good to go, at least for its first startup. With everything underneath the car apparently being finished, it was time to move back inside the car because there are some loose ends I have to tidy up under the dash. And you know how much fun that is. I just spent the last, I don't know how many hours underneath this dash, just tidying some things up, plugging some things in that weren't plugged in. It's so uncomfortable. You guys know that stuff sucks. But brake pedals tightened up, a couple modules plugged in, wires rerouted because they didn't have them routed the correct way. Whole bunch of stuff done. One question. Anyone have any idea what this is for or where it goes? I searched high and low under here. You can see this is about all the longer that it is. I can't find anywhere that this goes. So if anyone knows, please leave a comment. Or if it goes to absolutely nothing, which wouldn't make much sense to me, let me know, because that's what's holding me up from putting this back on. That's really what's holding me up right now. And other than fluids, this thing's ready to fire up. So speaking of fluids, how about we go grab some? Alright, I may have gone a little overboard with the distilled water, but I don't know how much it's going to take, as this thing is bone dry. And yes, the distilled water, all the fluids, everything I got was obviously cheap. That's because all of this is temporary. This is basically to clean out the system, flush it out, and start fresh, and I'll put much better fluid in afterwards. No worries. I didn't skimp out on the engine oil though, so that's good. Well, really what's left is I have to fill the car up with the distilled water, check for leaks. Hopefully there aren't any. I could see there being some though, because you never know with a fresh build like this. Gotta get power steering fluid in it. Gotta make sure the transmission and diff are filled up and get some fresh motor oil in it along with a fresh oil filter. Oh, I gotta fill up the brake fluid. Oh, I can't believe I'm hooking a battery up to this thing. First time connecting the positive to the battery. Oh, something back there happened. Just a very quick cranking of the key. Oh,